Barotrauma damage, better known as space damage, has been nerfed to a quarter of the values that it used to be. This has some very interesting gameplay implications, and this is the least lethal spacing has ever been in Space Station 14's history, and that means we're going to cycle back to an old balance of movement speed is the only thing that matters. I personally do not like this PR, but rather than get like angry about it or something like that, I will just explain the downsides of it. And there are upsides, of course. It's not just like a strictly bad thing. Just because I don't like it doesn't mean it's not good for the game. I have my own opinions on balance, of course. Anyways, now that space damage is down to a quarter of what it used to be, having just something like your survival box and your breath mask can make you live a very, very long time in a spaced environment. The moment you start taking pressure damage and you have your oxygen on, you have almost exactly 3 full minutes until you will reach a critical state if you're full health. The damage starts ramping up for every species that's not assigned past 20 because I'm technically recovering some health over time, but this alone is so little damage that you can basically ignore spacing for a full solid minute and a half until it starts becoming kind of a problem. But like taking 20-ish damage is just so irrelevant that like med will fix you in half a second. If you take less than 20 damage, you'll just passively heal it. So on the low end of like the damage scale, walking into a space room and walking out has zero consequence anymore, which is probably fine. Getting punished for just opening a door and taking a ton of damage did kind of always feel sort of weird. But I think the bigger implication here is that having 3 full minutes of survival just because you have oxygen while in a space room is crazy. I'm not even at damage slowdown, and I've been in here for over a minute. So really what this ends up doing, and has done in the past, is when space damage was really slow and did like very little damage, aka like during the space pen meta, people just stopped wearing hard suits. Because what's the point of being slowed down? For a quick comparison, and this is going to be where the game's most affected, is because of hard suit usage. Most hard suits in the game slow you around 20%, if not worse. So like, something like an engineer hard suit slows you by 30%, and if you're wearing a duffel bag on top of that, you're even slower. So unless you're literally planning on going out into solars, if you're just fixing a hole or something, you could probably fix the hole within a minute and not even lose a third of your health. And if you have bandages or something, there's zero risk at all. You will not die to space if you have any form of medication to deal with it. Even something like just a basic EVA suit slows you by 20%. And now that it takes 3 minutes to die from full health, there's probably very little situations you can't get out of a space room within 3 minutes. It's pretty damn rare the whole station gets spaced. Maybe only during like Singuluses and Tesla luces will hard suits really be even necessary. Other than that, it's like, yeah, maybe you don't want to take some damage, but in combat, which combat happens very often in Space Station 14, literally every antagonist except Thief has to kill someone, and movement speed is everything in this game. So like even for Nukies are going to get most affected by this. Their default hard suit slows them by 10%, and they also start with duffel bags, which slow you by 10%. So what you're going to end up seeing is you're going to see way more elite hard suits get used. They are fireproof, they're basically radiation proof, they have better explosive resistance, they resist lasers, and they're only 10% worse against the other damages, but they don't slow you. So that TC is 100% worth it because 10% movement speed is actually the worst part of the blood red. It is losing 10% speed is way worse than getting 10% damage reduction. The best damage reduction is not getting hit in the first place. This is also going to make items like the web vest even more attractive, but even then, the elite hard suit brings very interesting balance decisions, especially for Nukies. It's like, web vest doesn't let you get on the station unless you dock without taking much damage, but the elite hard suit is only slightly worse, but again, it's fireproof, it's basically explosive proof, it's radiation proof, which you often see crew and stuff using uranium spears, especially during war ops. It's basically laser proof, where a web vest, especially against Nukies, basically has no heat resistance. So you're not going to see Nukies really wanting to use web vests because they'll just get 6-7 shot by lasers. And for things like captains, people always complain about the captain's armored hard suit. It's only good against pierce and heat. If you get meleeed, you're done for. It slows you by quite a lot, 20%. So that means a Nukie will catch up to you guaranteed if they're running after you, which you'll often see Nukies run down captains because they're too slow. The captain's carapace, however, which is their default armor, is tankier in pretty much every regard and has no slowdown. So, unless the captain is purposely deciding to spend 3 minutes AFK in a space room, I don't see why they'd even go worry about getting their hard suit. And finally, this is the biggest issue, I would say, with combat being affected by space damage, is that the armor values were not ever balanced around space being basically just not a lethal threat. Items like the bulletproof vest exist, which have 60% pierce resist, which is only 10% worse than the web vest, and guess what? The majority damage Nukies have is piercing, unless you're using energy swords or Fists of the North Star. It's going to be pierce. And their normal hard suits, like even the head of security hard suit, yeah, it's basically a blood red, but slow, and doesn't have as good as explosive resistance. The security hard suit, even worse. Not great protection, slows you by a fucking quarter, so like you're gonna get run down, and it happens all the time where you just get outmaneuvered by a Nukie and you're screwed. The Warden hard suit's a joke. This is like the shittiest hard suit in the game. It makes you so slow that no one wants to wear it. You're as slow as an engineer, which engineers weren't meant for combat, so the Warden being that slow is just a free kill. So like the head of security, it's like, yeah, his armor trench coat doesn't technically protect as much as his hard suit, but you don't lose 20% of your movement speed. So you can just outrun a Nukie if they're wearing their normal armor. You can't get meleeed if you can't get caught. Also, to conjoin with this factor, security has received a massive buff. Riot shields are now over twice as durable, and most of them have gotten damage reduction increases. So this is a security officer with their standard issued helmet, a bulletproof vest, which you can't always get, but they are typically in armories, and a bulletproof shield, which you can always get, versus a Nukie wearing an elite suit and their gas mask, which does provide a little bit of extra protection. However, the security gas mask also provides the same amount of protection, so that's the same there. The bulletproof vest, 60% pierce reduction. The elite hard suit, only 40%. The shield has 70% reduction to shield and takes half the damage away from a user. And just to be even more fair, I should do this. I'll give the Nukie an energy shield, even though it's not technically meant for bullets. Like, I could also compare an energy sword, and I might do that anyway. Reflex did get nerfed back down to 25%, so that's only another quarter of their effective HP pull extended. So let's just do a comparison real quick. We'll grab an L6 saw. Each L6 saw shot does 19 damage. So we'll just do a very quick comparison of shooting a security officer who just has their bulletproof armor on, and again, spacing does so little damage that a fight is going to guaranteed be over if you're rushing a Nukie before you even take probably more than 10 to 15 points of space damage. So you could try to do a little bit of subtraction here, but before this, that person would have taken 60 damage in the time they took 15 damage. So it's not a small difference. So we're just going to unload onto the security officer. We'll just do like 5-round burst. The shield finally broke after 20 bullets, so we have shot 20 bullets total. So it took about, what was that, 23 bullets to crit a security officer at point blank without missing a single shot with an L6 saw. And a hard-suited user with an energy shield and their gas mask. We'll just spawn a fresh L6 saw for easier math here. So this has 101 bullets. Shield broke after 13 shots. The elite suit user dropped with 6 or 7 less bullets total. I kind of lost count. This is with spending a ton of TC. That is 18 TC worth of equipment versus a security officer wearing free equipment. And they are at even movement speed at this point. The Nukie might even be slower, because unless they buy the backpack, which is an additional purchase, they are going to be slower. Now, if the Nukie had their energy sword, they probably would have identical shots to kill. But again, that's another purchase, and then that completely removes the ability for the Nukie to do ranged options. So, very quick showcase. Obviously not the most scientific or mathematical showcase ever, but you're going to start seeing this guy a lot more in space chasing this guy. So what this means for Nukies is that Nukies are going to have to start using stimulants to get extra movement speed. They're going to have to start using more dangerous bombs. They're going to have to start utilizing more flame weapons. That's what I mean, that this isn't like a total, like, combat's fuck type of thing. It's not like a doomsday event. but combat is going to be changed entirely, where movement speed is going to be even more superior than it used to be. And Nukies are going to also have to consider wanting to use slips and stuff. They're going to have people running full speed at them, and so you're going to want to try making lube bombs as syndicates. You're going to want to try making lube as Nukies. Nukies can make lube very easily. You might even want to try purchasing fucking soaps and stuff, using water to your advantage, whatever you might have to do for this. There are things you can do to basically make it so you never have to worry about getting damage from space again. If you have a bunch of Medibots nearby and they all inject you at once, they will inject you with a ton of tricordazine, and that will extend your survival in space by so much. Rather than taking 0.5 or 0.6 damage a tick, we're only taking 0.15 a tick because we're healing this entire time. So that means if you have Trico on you, which is very easy to get, and you have bruise packs, you can literally have zero worry about taking damage in space. You can easily just throw on a band-aid and keep moving and just keep applying band-aids before you hit 50 damage total, and you will never have to worry about your Trico not working. So like chemists and stuff are basically immune to space. You just carry some medicine on you. And just to showcase even more of like how crazy this can get, here's some bruisine, which is designed specifically to treat blunt damage. You can self-inject yourself with a needle in like less than a second, and this will pretty much literally make you immune to space. I didn't even need to inject 10 units, but you might as well. I mean, bruisine's really easy to make. Even bicardine would be enough to treat you at this point. If you carry something like Doctor's Delight, so like even a bartender can make Doctor's Delight with the Trico and just drink it and be completely immune to space as long as they have supplies. Like having just band-aids and ointment is enough to tank space forever. And if you want to get really silly about it, you can lay in a medical bed and sleep, and that will give you over a half hour of survival. So if you have patients in medbay and it's spaced, you can literally tuck them in the bed and space can't hurt them anymore. Well, it will. It kind of tickles them a little bit. So really the summary of this video is, without me ranting on forever, which trust me, I could rant on forever, is if you have band-aids or any form of basic medicine, space is irrelevant. And if you don't have those items, getting healed, as long as you aren't in space for literally forever, is easier because you're not taking as much damage. It's really hard to summarize it more than that. Space is just so non-lethal now that hard suits are only going to be really useful if you're intentionally flying around the station in space. If you're inside the station and it's not like a Tesla loose or something, I don't really see why you'd even wear a hard suit. Anyways, a lot of this is just my opinions. Just trying to showcase things and share some info. Thank you for watching.